Right, let's get more now on Newcastle's 6-1 thumping of Tottenham yesterday.
It's a result which boosts their top four hopes, and we can cross live to our reporter Keith Downie now. Keith, good morning to you. What does this victory do for Newcastle's Champions League chances next season? I mean, is that pretty much it done?
Yeah, I mean, Tom, in the build-up to yesterday's game, I said that on air a couple of times. I said that I felt that if Newcastle had won yesterday, it would be insurmountable for Spurs or probably even the rest to try and get back up above Newcastle into that top four. And I woke up this morning feeling exactly the same. I think, obviously, the nature of the win, the 6-1 win, we saw those 5 goals in the opening 21 minutes yesterday. Newcastle absolutely blowing Spurs away. And I think that is a team that is hungry and determined to finish in the top four this season and get back to Europe's top table. Newcastle have not been in the Champions League for 20 years. That's how long ago it was since they played in that competition, and I think the players in the squad have just got that hunger to get back there. I mean, you just need one glance at the league table to see where Newcastle are above Spurs now, and that is why yesterday really was a shootout for the top four. They're now 6 points above Spurs with a game in hand, with the matches running out, just 7 games left for Newcastle to play before now in the end of the season. They've got the bit between their teeth. I think what was most impressive yesterday, Tom, was the way Newcastle reacted. We saw they were well beaten by Aston Villa last weekend, 3-0. The heads could have dropped, but the exact opposite happened. And they came out all guns blazing, and as I say, just swept Spurs away early on in that game and cantered to a 6-1 win. So I think looking at the league table, Liverpool, if they won every game, could have an outside chance of getting into the top four. Not sure if I can see Aston Villa, Brighton or Spurs after yesterday's performance doing that. So I think yesterday pretty much all but did it for Newcastle. But of course, Eddie Howe will not be talking about that, will not be thinking about that. I asked him about it post-match yesterday. I said, look, are you thinking about Champions League? Finally, can you talk about it? He says, no, look, we're playing Everton on Thursday night. We went there last season, very tough game, struggled. That is all I'm thinking of. And I think until it's mathematically secure a top four place, it will only be then that Eddie Howe and his backroom staff talk about. A few of the players are. I spoke to Bruno Guimaraes after the game yesterday, and he admitted, look, as players, we are thinking about it, but let's just try and take it step by step. And he said, look, let's try and end the season the way we started it. And if they carry on like they did yesterday, they're going to secure Champions League football with games to spare after, as I say, a 20-year hiatus.
Well, Keith, the fans will definitely be talking about it, won't they, and thinking about it. Probably already thinking about the summer transfer window as well. I mean, what impact will Champions League football have on their spending this summer?
Yeah, Emma, it's an interesting one, this, isn't it? Because the message from the club over the last few months, probably since the start of this season, has been that they're kind of close to the FFP limits in terms of expenditure. Remember, Newcastle have spent round about 260 million since the Saudi-backed takeover back in October 2021. So that's 3 transfer windows. They've spent around 250 million. But what they haven't done, Emma, is that they've not traded. They've not sold anyone other than Chris Wood, who went on loan to Nottingham Forest until the end of the season, with an obligation to make that permanent for, I think it's round about £12 million. Newcastle haven't sold anyone. Yes, they sold John Joe Shelvey, didn't get a lot in the way of money for that sale. So they haven't traded, they haven't brought money in, so that obviously affects their financial fair play. However, in saying that, if they qualify for the Champions League, that pushes back the boundaries for expenditure moving forward. To what level, we're not sure, but obviously they will get prize money for getting into the Champions League. There's then the TV revenue, and then for every point they pick up, victories and then qualifying from the group, if they manage to get out of the Champions League group, they get more money for that as well, and that's all money that can go towards player signings, potential transfers in the summer. And then of course you've got to add to that revenue and sponsorship. If they qualify for the Champions League, it makes the club more attractive to potential sponsors. That's all money that can then go into the coffers and be spent on transfers. Now, I don't think Newcastle are going to go out and spend hundreds of millions of pounds this summer. I think they'll be quite cute. I think they'll be quite coy about it, like we've seen in previous windows. I think they'll scour the European market and try and bring in the likes of Sven Botman, the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, other players like that, and then try and pick up some bargains here from England. The likes of James Maddison is someone they've looked at, as we know, for a long time. And while I'm not saying he's a bargain, if they were able to get him for something like £40 million, that's the sort of transfer they'll go for. I don't see them spending over £100 million on one individual player. But should they qualify for the Champions League, they will have more money to spend in the summer moving forward. If they weren't to qualify for Europe, I think they would be pretty tight in their budget. They really pushed the boat out to get Anthony Gordon in January, and I think it would have been more of the same this summer. So it does have big ramifications. If they qualify, which is looking likely now, they are going to have more money to spend in the summer. How much, we're not yet sure, but without doubt that squad needs strengthened. They've asked the same group of players to go to the well again and again. It's sort of 14, 15 players that have played nearly every single match for Newcastle this season, so they're going to have to bulk that squad up. By my reckoning, maybe 6, potentially 7 new players in the summer to make sure they can compete not just for the Premier League next season and to try and get into Europe again, but also to compete in the Champions League. What they will not want to do is qualify for the Champions League and then next season kind of struggle in the Premier League and be bottom half of the table. We've seen how difficult it's been for West Ham this season. We saw how much Leicester struggled a few years ago after winning the Premier League title. They will not want that to happen again, so they'll need to bulk the squad up in the summer. Thankfully for the club and the supporters and everyone involved, the manager as well, they're going to get those funds in the summer should they qualify for the Champions League. But as I say, we're not too sure on a figure yet, but they are going to have to bring in a raft of players in the summer if they're to compete in both competitions.
Oh, it's looking likely they will qualify, isn't it, Keith? Thanks so much. We'll chat to you soon.